Charles Maier here at Maier Racing in Hayward, California. One of our latest items that we've developed here in the suspension division is the drop spindle. The drop spindle helps in a lot of ways. Basically what I'm trying to do with the drop spindle, the reason that we were motivated to put it together, is if you're running an 18-inch wheel on a 1965 to 70 Mustang, you want to get the rim over the upper ball joint. And in order to do that, you have to move the snout up. And in this case, we moved it up 1 inch. And most 18-inch wheels, then you can run more backspace to about 6 1/8, 6 1/4. You start running into other problems where the rim runs into the frame rail, but that will ultimately help get more backspace to run an 18, 11-inch wheel. The drop spindle, we started with 1967 Mustang spindle. As far as design goes, we ended up converting to a 71 to 73 snout, so it's the big snout. Well, the bracket here is made for a Wilwood brake. It's the kit 14012945 on the Wilwood catalog. And essentially what that is a 6-piston caliper, 12-inch rotor, and hub assembly, and the whole thing bolts right on here. If you don't have that brake kit, this is a mild steel bracket. The entire spindle is mild steel versus forged. And the benefit to that is that you can actually do some things to it. So if you wanted to cut this bracket off or cut it off here and weld on different tabs, we've had customers do that. In addition to that, there's a lot of people that talk about bump steer and they want to know if this spindle corrects their bump steer issues. I have found that if the Mustang has a reasonable setup, the car is not too low, and you haven't changed the geometry pickup points too bad, then the car shouldn't have a lot of bump steer. If it does have bump steer, and essentially bump steer is when you're coming into a corner and the dips and undulations in the road are affecting the wheel and it's steering as you're in a straight line or straight line braking, then ultimately you have bump steer. So you have steering that is induced by bumps in the road. So really, to get that right, it really isn't buy a kit, throw it on a car, and it's good. In order to get it right, you need to play around with where the tie rod end picks up here on the spindle. You have to move it up or down, in or out. There's all kinds of different options to try to get it in the ideal location. And to do that, you really should start case by case. It's car by car. So it depends on the ride height of this car. It depends on the position of the upper control arm, lower control arm. All factors in that particular suspension. So be a little weary if you buy, quote unquote, a bump steer kit and that you're just going to bolt it on and it's going to make your car right. So the drop spindle, as I said, was designed off the 1967 spindle essentially. The big modification is that we went to the 71 to 73 snout. But as far as pickup points go, the upper ball joint, you can use stock upper ball joint, you can use stock lower ball joint, so that's okay. If you're running somebody else's suspension, as long as they mount into a stock spindle, that's okay. You can run our drop spindle. We're on our 3rd production run now of the drop spindles as of today. So we've been tweaking and refining a few things. I'd like to tell you that when you buy the drop spindle, that it's just simply pull it out of the box, put it on your car, and away you go. You may end up having to call us and discuss a few small issues. We have had issues where when people go to install the hub, the castle nuts that they have or that we've provided may not give enough room for everything to collapse in here, so maybe you have to run a thinner castle nut. Or in some aftermarket ball joints, the back side of the spindle here, the thickness that we have it has been a little bit of a challenge for some people, for some ball joints, but it's all kind of simple refining, simple tweaks and tuning. I think at the end of the day, the reason that I put this together, mild steel spindle, you can autocross on it, you can road race on it, you can beat on it. If you try to modify a forged steel spindle and cut out this section and shorten the gap or do something else, the problem is that you shouldn't be welding on forged steel. It does not like being welded on, and the chance of it cracking and breaking is substantial. So now you've got a liability on your hands. But this thing answers a lot of questions, lowers the car. You can run the upper control arm at the stock pickup point. You can run the lower control arm at the stock pickup point if you want. If you want to do the Shelby drop, you can do that as well, depending on what tire you're running. But this is a great product, and it's starting to sell here more and more every week, and we look forward to getting more of them out your way.